Okay. So before we get started, are you going or both of you? Or
Yeah.
Okay.
I brought both
Crystal
of us
and Nick
today.
from North Star, so come on up.
Yeah. So hi everybody on Zoom and hello to our
Hello.
people in person. So today is about company foundation and North Star title is a part of your team here. So I wanted to bring Nick with me today. So Nick is our other escrow officer in our office. He does already work with a handful of the teams, and I know a couple of you are on those teams that he assists. But I just wanted to bring our other face here for you guys to see. And we're always here to help you guys and be part of your one team dream here.
All right.
Yeah. Hey.
We're here to be part, to help you out and to make sure that we help your transactions go smooth and make sure you guys look good as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah. Okay. All right, guys. I'll see you on Thursday.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, bye, Russ.
Awesome, thanks, guys. All right, so today we're going to be talking about the foundation. So the idea of this is to give you a little bit of the background of like where the company came from and what it's based upon. So where we're going to start though, so actually I'm going to turn this screen where you guys can see it here. I'm going to share my screen here. Oops. All right. So we're going to go through, we're going to talk about the foundation. Now, so let me give you just kind of the background on that as we get started. And that is, so when George was a new agent and selling real estate, George Morris being the founder and one of the owners of the company, he started to notice that top producing agents seem to have some characteristics and things that were in common with each other. And so he on a sticky note started to write down, like, what are the things that top producing agents have or do that I don't do, or that he wasn't doing, or that he needed to do. And he came up with basically 6 things that he found the top producing agents have, or they are, or they do as part of their business. And that was organic, meaning he didn't just sit down and write it out at once. Over time, he kind of figured it out. Well, back in 2009, what was going on with the real estate market in 2009?
We dropped to nothing.
Yeah, the opposite of what we're seeing right now, right?
Buyer's market.
Yeah, that's right. It was totally a buyer's market. What was going on was that there were tons and tons of homes for sale on the market. And as a result of that, it was driving the prices down, versus today we have very few homes on the market, which is driving the price up. Well, in the midst of that, George, John, Rob Oakey, and then 2 other people were sitting around a conference room table. And George said, what do you guys think about us starting a real estate company? Well, in the midst of that, there were companies going out of business like crazy. People were leaving the business. And so the thought of creating a real estate company at that time didn't seem like probably the smartest move. But John said to George, because it's you, I think we should do it. And so they started. So the birth of this company, Century 21 Everest, was 2009, in the midst of everything that was going on in the Great Recession, was where they decided to create the company. Well, they decided, though, if they were going to create it, they were going to create this company to be a little different than what most real estate companies are. And what I mean by that is, one of the things you will hear John say quite often is that we are a personal development company that just happens to sell real estate. So just think of it that way, is it, to some respect, we like to think of ourselves as being a personal development company, meaning we want you to become your very best, whatever that is, whatever that looks like. It is for you to become your very best is what we are trying to accomplish. So, so with that being said, we're going to talk today about the foundation of the company. So these 6 things that George came up with. Now, before we do that though, so for you guys that are on Zoom, I can see a bunch of you have, but if you have not, please put in your first and your last name and office in the chat box for you guys that are on Zoom. All right, so let me go to the whiteboard here. so that I can show you what this looks like. So here's what we're gonna start with, is we're gonna start with by talking about the footings to the foundation. So if you think about, if you were gonna go build a house, the first thing that happens is they dig a hole, get the ground level, and then they put in the footings before they put in the foundation. The purpose of the footings is to give it's almost like it's the foundation of the foundation, if that makes sense, okay? So that's what we want to start with. So if I were a good artist and could draw really well, then I'll do my best that I can here, which is pretty poor already, but.
Good potato.
Yeah, that's right. It would be a great potato.
Now it's walking.
It would be a great potato. Now, this is not, I'm not a huge Star Trek fan. This is not one of those AT-ATs. So, but that's probably what it more looks like. So any guesses as to what it is, either on Zoom or you guys? Here?
Foundation. I'm just kidding.
No, it's not a foundation.
Is it a ribbon?
It's not a ribbon. It could, although it looks like it could go as a ribbon.
A stool.
Yes,
Three-legged
perfect.
stool.
Three-legged
Yeah.
stool. Good. Yeah. So I failed art class, and you can see why. But so yeah, it's a three-legged stool. So think of it this way: this is your life. Your life consists of basically, the way we like to think of it from the company is it has three legs to this stool of your life. Now, these three legs consist of this: your health, your relationships, and your business, or you might say money, I guess we could say. So business or money. Now, let me ask you, if I had actually up here a three-legged stool, a stool that had three legs on it, and I was sitting on the stool and one of you came up and kicked one of the legs out, what's going to happen?
Fall.
Yeah, I'm going to fall over. Now, think of what we're going to talk about today, this foundation and everything that we are doing within real estate, within Everest. We want you to not just get focused only on the business, the money side of things. Crucial and important, yes, but we also want you to still focus on your relationships and your health. So for me, I have been training in real estate now for basically 16-ish years, might even be close to 17 now, but somewhere in that 16-year range. And I will tell you, I've watched a lot of people come into this business and want to get successful and to get it going. And one of the things that I have unfortunately also seen is they put so much time and effort into this, the business, the money side of things, and they neglect either their health or the relationship side of things. And then what ends up happening is I have seen a lot of people come into the business and be successful, but they end up getting divorced along the way or whatever. And to me, I look at that and go, that's not success. Success is being able to be effective or successful, I guess, in each of these three areas, not just one. Now, who knows who Tiger Woods is? Yeah, everybody pretty much, right? No, so Tiger Woods, growing up, he was going to be the phenom of golf, which to some extent, I think he did become that, right? What happened to him though? Because over the last, like his golf game is back on pretty good now, but it's still not, I would say, where it was. What happened to create the issues around his golf game?
Cheated on his wife.
So the first thing, first
Yeah.
issue that happened is he got messed up in this area of his life, right?
Yeah, too many temptations, I guess.
That's right.
I mean, it's his character. It was flawed. You don't cheat on somebody that you're married with. You know?
So yeah, at the end of the day, he got messed up in the relationship side of things. So now remember, we're talking about if we had a three-legged stool up here and I was sitting on it and somebody came and yanked one of the legs out, what's going to happen? Well, it's going to mess up and you're going to probably fall. Well, as a result of that, then what? So he cheats on his wife, has some relationship issues. What then ends up happening?
Gets divorced, loses his sponsors.
Doesn't
And it
care about
affects his
himself,
money.
his health.
Notice how the relationship piece went over into here.
Yeah.
And he actually even started to have some other health issues along the way with his back and knees.
DUI and all that.
Yep, yeah,
The
DUI.
Drug use.
Yep.
Yeah.
So notice that how these things are connected. So as we go through and we talk about this today, just keep in mind the footings to the foundation that we're going to talk about is your health, your relationships, or your business. One of the agents here at the office, Brenda Lee Jones, I like the way she says it. She says it is family, fitness, and finance. So if you want to think of it as 3 F's, you could do that as well. Your family, your fitness, and your finances. But those are the 3 areas: your health, your relationships, and then the business or the money side of things. Okay. Keep in mind as we go through and we talk about these things that everything we talk about, we want you focused on all 3 areas, not just the one. Even though the majority of the time we will spend talking about the business side of things and helping you do that, don't lose sight of the family and the health side of things as well as we go through it. Okay. Now, so with that in place, we're now going to jump into the next piece of this. So the one thing that we ask for you as agents with Everest is that you be coachable. Every one of us needs to be coachable and willing to learn and grow and become better. Because again, remember that what we are about at Everest is helping you become your very best. So in order for that to happen, you've got to be coachable. Now, one of the things you probably didn't realize as you came into real estate is that the expectation that we have of you as agents with Everest is that you are leaders, that your job is to be a leader. Now, nobody told me when I first came out of real estate school and got hired on to work at a brokerage, nobody told me, hey, your job is going to be leadership. But if you stop and think about it, that's really what our job is our job is just to lead people through a process. So everything we are going to be doing is about leadership. The number one skill of a leader is communication. Okay. And so we're going to work a lot on that. But in order to get there, to get to becoming the great leader, to get to having these communication skills, we have to start with principle number 1 of our foundation. Okay, so that's where we're going to start off with this. So number 1 to this is what we are going to call your purpose or your vision. Sometimes we'll say your why, and or we may even say dreams. Okay, so you'll hear us refer to it in those different ways: purpose, vision, why, dreams. So I apologize. My handwriting's bad enough, and then when I try to do it on an iPad, it's even worse. So I apologize. But like, first you saw my potato.
All right,
My
we know
potato
your
stool.
strengths.
Yeah, exactly. This is not. Yeah, I might. That's
Like
right.
that.
I'm mighty in speaking, not so much in
Yeah,
writing. There we go. That's
exactly.
good. Okay. So purpose, vision, dreams, why? So here's where we want to go with this. In terms of top producing agents. So remember that what this was about is George started to notice, what are the top producing agents doing? What do they have that other agents don't have? And what he noticed was that they all understood either their purpose. You can think of it any way. They understood their why, they understood their purpose, they had dreams, they had a vision, they knew where they were headed to, they knew what they wanted to accomplish. Now, let me actually just share with you quickly a quick little story on this for me of where this came to mean something for me. So I mentioned that I've been training now for 16-ish years. Well, in 2000, it was 2004 that I started training. So I guess, yeah, so no, is it 17 years now? 2004 to 21?
4 to 21 is
Would be
17.
seven. Okay, so so I am 17 years now. So it was January of 2004. So 17 years ago, I started training. Now I was with a different company, but the training, the stuff that we worked on was very similar to what we are talking about now, meaning it has evolved over the 17 years that I have been doing it, but similar principles and things that we talked about. Well, part of what we did within that program, early on, it was a way more intense than what we are currently doing now, meaning that one of the things that I would do, and I've debated on doing this again, by the way, but is that I would have everybody that was in the training program show up on Monday morning at 9 o'clock, and we would sit down with, and at one point I had 90 people. So it was in a room much bigger than this, but we would have 90 people there, and I had a number of people helping me, to where what we would do is every Monday, we would do a small little training kind of a thing, and then we would break up into these groups. And you would have groups of, maybe even 10 agents within a group. And what we would do is we would go around to each of the agents, and I would say, okay, Mary, what did you commit to do last week? So just let's role play it, just make it up. Like, what did you say you would do last week?
Door knocking.
Okay,
for
good.
2 hours. a
Okay.
day.
You said, okay, good. Did you do it?
Yes.
So usually the answer was no
Okay,
for
no.
most of the
It
time,
was
but
no,
let's
I
say
don't
that they
know,
said
we're like-
yes. And if they said yes, great. I mean, that was awesome. But what I found is majority of the time, people would say, I'm gonna do 2 hours of door knocking every day. And then I would say, did you do your 2 hours worth of door knocking? And they would say no. And I would say, okay, well, so what got in the way? And then they would usually say something like, well, it was raining the one day, so I didn't go, or like whatever. They would just have excuses about doing it. Well, part of what was happening though is that I was frustrated because I was doing this, but I felt like within all these agents and this training program, I felt like we're not getting anywhere. We're not going, like, I was buying into the excuses that people would give to me of that it was raining, or the dog ate my homework, or just the garage door fell on my car, or like whatever it was, like just the stuff that people would come up with. Well, one day I was really, really struggling with it. And so I was talking to a friend about it, and the friend just said, and this is the way he said it to me, and I don't know if it'll, even as I think about it today, I'm not 100% that it makes sense, but it did to me at the time. And he said, kind of think of it as you're driving a bus, like that I'm this bus driver. And he said, as you go from point A to point B, driving this bus, you're going to have a whole bunch of people on the bus with you. And you're going to make stops along the way. And along the way, some people are going to get off and some people are going to get off. Some people will get on and some people will get off the bus, but it doesn't change where you are headed to. So said another way, you have to understand what your purpose is or your vision. Where is it that you are headed? Do you know where you're going? See, and he said, to some extent, you're letting everyone else drive the bus rather than you saying, this is where I'm going. And if people want to come with me, they're welcome to get on the bus and go with me to where we're headed to. If they don't want to, then they're welcome to get off the bus. Well, see, that's what we're talking about here. When I say to you guys, that one of the things that we have found that top producing agents have is that they understand their purpose. They have a vision of where they're going. They know why they want to do it, and they have dreams. See, so the question is for you, do you have that? Do you understand your purpose? Do you have your vision? Do you know what you're wanting to accomplish? See, when we fully understand that, and when you can look at it and say, okay, here is where I'm headed. Here is what I'm going to do. You don't have to at this point know how it's going to happen. In fact, I just lost the guy's name. Les Brown. Les Brown says, how is none of your business? Like that's he talks about this of understanding your purpose or your vision, your why is you got to know what it is. You got to know where you're headed to, and the how is none of your business is how Les Brown says it, meaning you'll figure it out once you know the why. When you understand what your purpose, your vision is, where you're headed, then you will figure it out how to do it. See, but you have to understand, you have to know, here's where I'm headed and here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I plan to accomplish. And I'll figure out how to get there along the way, but I'm going that direction. Now, so what do you do if you don't understand that? So for me, see, for a long time, this is where I was telling you guys when I was running this training program, I was kind of like, what the friend said is you're letting everyone else drive the bus for you and you need to drive the bus. So that's kind of what I'm saying for you is in terms of your real estate career, you got to decide, where do I want to go? And maybe it has nothing to do with real estate, by the way. Real estate may be the vehicle to get you where you need to get, where you want to go. Meaning real estate may be the vehicle to provide the funds for you to go and do whatever this purpose is, your why is. So here's what I guess I would say. For me, I could make, well, I'm trying to think how I want to say it. I could make more money selling real estate than I do training. I know that. I could go out and do that. But because I've identified what my purpose is, And for me, my purpose is about helping you guys get your business up and running, or if it is up and running, to getting it to the next level. That's what my purpose is. I have figured that out. Now, how did I figure it out? So, because here's what I found is a lot of times, let me back up. All top producing agents understand this. All of the top producers, if you go talk to any top producer, they have a very clear vision of where they're headed to. They know what it is they're going to accomplish. They know why they're wanting to do that. Now, what I've found is the agents who don't have that clear purpose, that clear vision, or the why behind it. So you got to get it. Well, so now how do you get it? Because for me, like I said, when I sat down with this friend and was talking, was saying how frustrated I was because I felt like we weren't really headed anywhere. He said, you've got to go figure out where you want to go with this. Where are you going to take it? Well, so how do you do that? How do you figure out what your purpose is, or your vision, or your why? Well, here's what I found that, and what I did is, if you will write that down on a piece of paper sometime. So meaning, I'm not asking you to do it right now, because we aren't going to take the time to do it. If we were, I'd be like, hey, here's what the assignment is. I'll be back in 2 hours, kind of a thing. But what you want to do is set aside at least an hour of time that you could then grab a blank piece of paper and write down at the top of the paper, what is my purpose? Or what is my why? What is my purpose? And if you will do that, and then what you do after you write down the what is my purpose. See, one of the things that you're going to find is that life is really all about questions. Meaning, like, if you use a journal, what part of the biggest thing from that journal should be for you to write down questions and then write down the answers that come to your mind as you do that. So now let's go back to this. You write down, what is my purpose? Then what you want to do at that point is start writing every single thing that comes to your mind. Anything that comes to your mind, you write it down. So if you write down, what is my purpose? And then the first thing that comes to your mind is I don't think this is going to work. Then you write down, I don't think this is going to work. If the next thing that comes to your mind is, I'd rather be out mowing the lawn, then write down, I'd rather be out mowing the lawn. If the next thing that comes to your mind is, I hate Russ because he asked me to do this, then you write, like, I'm serious, you write down every single thing that comes to your mind. So you set aside at least an hour where what you're going to do is write down on a piece of paper, what is my purpose? And then just start writing every single thing that comes to your mind. Like, I had some of the stuff that I had written down was, I'd rather be sitting on a beach than doing this. Is, I don't know why I'm doing this. And then I started thinking, I should go do the dishes right now. Like, anything that comes to your mind, you write it down. But you keep asking yourself the question is, what is my purpose? And then just keep answering over and over and over. And what should happen is that somewhere along the way, you will write something down that you emotionally connect with. You'll write something down and you may get emotional. I'm not saying you will, for sure. I didn't, but it is not uncommon for people to then get emotional when they write something down, to get emotional about it, because you now then have landed on what that is for you. Well, so for me, so let me tell you about my experience. So I did that. I wrote, what's my purpose? And I told you all the stuff that I was just writing and writing and writing and writing. Well, after an hour of doing that, I was like, I don't feel like I got anywhere. So here's what I did is I said, okay, this was on a Saturday. I decided the next Saturday, I was going to set aside another hour that I would sit down and I was going to do it again. So the next Saturday, I sat down, I got out the same piece of paper, I turned it over. Actually, I did it on my iPad, but I went to the next section of the page and I started writing in, what is my purpose? And I wrote, and I wrote, and I wrote. And after another hour, I was like, okay, I haven't emotionally connected with anything. And then I had this thought. In fact, I think the last thing I wrote down is, go back and read everything you've written. So I thought, okay, that's what I'll do. So at the end of the hour, I stopped. I went through and read for the 2 hours worth of stuff that I had written down, and just read through it and read through it. And here's what I noticed. All of a sudden, I started to notice the same type of a thing kept coming up over and over and over and over again. And then that's when it hit me of, that's what my purpose is. Everything that I kept writing down kept pointing to one thing, which was actually what I'm doing now in terms of helping people. Was I want to help people. I like taking people from getting nothing started in terms of real estate to seeing them take off and have their business be successful. Well, as a result of it is what's led me to being here where I'm at, and why I will, 2 weeks ago was down in California spending the week teaching the agents all of this stuff, is because that's what I've figured out for me, is what gives my life purpose is when I feel like I'm doing what I was created for, is when I'm doing something like this, where I'm standing up and teaching and helping you guys. So that's what you've got to do. Is the first thing we got to figure out for you is, what is your purpose? What's your vision? What's your why? See, selling real estate can be a very difficult thing. Meaning we don't realize, I know I didn't, at least, I don't know about you guys, but when I got my license, like I had seen this, what got me going was I had a lady that was showing my wife and I houses, and I was kind of like, this seems like kind of a cool job. Like, what do you do? And I asked her about how it works, and I started calculating the commission she was going to make, which, by the way, it was the home that she went to show us was $50,000. And so the 3% commission she was going to get off that was like $1,500. And I was like, wow, that's going to be. So this was like early 90s. But I remember seeing that and thinking, well, that's an easy job. Like, I'm going to go do that. Well, then I got my license, and I found out, as you guys are either have found out or you are finding out,
It's
like,
tough.
yeah, it's great.
Board payment, oh my god.
Yeah.
I just paid 80 and they sent me an email to pay like 9 something. I was like, I don't want it.
Exactly. Yeah. See,
Well,
you
it's
get,
competitive.
Yes.
It's super competitive.
that's right. Yep. See, and I didn't realize that. And so because of that, we could get very discouraged. But if we understand what our purpose is, and we're looking at, and which, by the way, the purpose or your why may not have anything to do with real estate. So keep in mind that once you know what it is, for me, it happened that I could find an avenue that I used it with real estate, but not always is that the case. Meaning it might be that there is some other, the one top producing agent that I'm thinking about when I think about this, she was involved in the Big Brother, Big Sister program. And for her, success in real estate meant she could then take those funds to go and do that thing. See, that's what I mean by this. Once you figure out what it is, the idea of having this purpose, the vision, the why, of you understanding what it is what's going to then give you the motivation to go get on the phone or to go knock on doors, because you're saying, I need the money to go do whatever this other thing is. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Okay. So hopefully you guys on Zoom are all still good. Let me see if I'm missing any chats. Nope. You guys still alive there?
Yes.
All right, thanks, Alex.
Alex. Alex is awesome.
I know, he is. All right. So hopefully that's making sense to you guys, but so let me try to tie it all together. Part of what George wanted to figure out is, what do the top producing agents have or do? And the first thing he found out is that they all have something bigger that they're working towards. They have something else that they want to do. And here's the other thing that I will tell you I've found through this is, typically what you're going to find is your purpose or your why is going to be tied to other people. It's not really going to be it's not, meaning I would be surprised. I'm not going to say that it couldn't happen, but I doubt that what you're going to land on is your purpose is to go travel the world and just go see all kinds of, like, it's not going to be selfish, I guess is what I'm saying. It's usually going to be about helping other people in some way. And once you land on that, that's what you need to do, is I need to be successful so that I can go live this other thing, or in addition to it. So it could be, I got to get the money so I could quit doing real estate and go do that. That's possible. But more so, it's probably, I need the money so that I can spend some time doing this other thing. And that's what he found, is the top producing agents all have that. They all have this drive, this need to get the money out of real estate to go and do other things with it. Okay, all right, so that's number one. Number two. Number two, which we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this one today, but is goals, plans, or plan and schedule. So goals, plan, and schedule. So the second thing that you found is that these top producing agents all have goals. They then have a plan set in place to help them achieve those goals, and they have a schedule set up every single day for that. So like I said, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this today because the whole thing on Thursday that we're going to spend time talking about is we're going to spend the entire time helping you get started on this business plan. So so just know I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it today, other than I do want to just say that you've got to have a goal that you're working towards, and I'm going to help you with that in terms of what to do. In fact, actually, I'm going to try something different. So I'm going to give you an assignment for Thursday. So let's do this. On Thursday, and you're not going to have to share this with anybody, by the way, when I ask you to do this, some of you are going to probably be like, I'm not going to tell anybody that. So you don't have to tell anybody, but I want you to have this, at least you to know it and written down somewhere. So for Thursday, as we put together your business plan, I want you to have, how much money do you need on a monthly basis? So like just calculate between now and then, if you don't already know, how much do you need for your house or rent payment? How much do you need if you have a car payment? How much do you need for food? How much do you need for your utilities? How much do you just living expenses? What does that look like? How much money do you need on a monthly basis, just in terms of survival, basically, to just not go into debt, I guess, okay? Then the next thing that I want you to have for that is going to be, let's see, what trips or vacations do you want to go on in the next year? So either, now as we do the business plan, when we do this on Thursday, you're going to do it either from, basically June 1st, I guess it'll be June 3rd till the end of the year, or from June to next June, however you want to do it. So what I want you thinking about though, between now and then, is what trips or vacations do you want to do between now and then? Meaning now and the end of the year, or now and next June. Okay, so either, however you're going to do your business plan. So I guess to some extent, even think about that of, do you want it to be just at the end of the year, or are you going to do it June to June, which either way is fine. Okay. And then the next thing is, do you have some debt that you want to eliminate? And how much of it do you want to eliminate within the next year? Okay. And then the final thing for Thursday that I want you to have is, what things do you want to buy? New car, set of golf clubs, new house, like whatever. Just what things do you want to buy between now and whenever the end of your business plan is going to be, whether that be the end of the year or next June. Okay. And then I'll show you how we're going to take that to figure out, because too many times the way we do our goals is we just randomly pick a number and we just throw it out there. And then we go, okay, that's what I want. Well, why do you want that? So now to tie this back to, why do you want that to make that kind of money? Well, if the answer is, well, just because I never have before, that may not be enough to drive you to do it. And it may be, but typically I've found it's not. Meaning most agents come into this business with a goal of, here's how much money I want to make. And I will tell you that if they don't do it, it's because they're not specific enough. And that's what we'll talk about on Thursday. Okay. Now, in terms of a plan, we're going to get you started on putting together that business plan on Thursday. And then we'll talk about schedule as well. So we'll go through what the ideal schedule for you should look like in terms of real estate. Okay. So anyway, for the sake of today, that's all I want to say about that. But Thursday we'll spend a bunch more time on it. All right, next, number 3. why is my pen not working? Oh, there we go. All right, number 3 then is we're gonna do, why do I keep messing that up? Mindset. Number 3 here is mindset, okay? Now, in terms of mindset, think of it this way. Your mindset that you have is going to be tied to the effectiveness of what you are going to get. So on Morning Ascent last Thursday, if you were watching, then you heard me talk a little bit about this, but if not, that's okay. But is top producing agents typically have a positive mindset. And so just kind of part of what we, again, want you to understand here is, as George was looking at what makes somebody successful, what is going to make somebody to become a top producing agent? Well, the next thing that he figured out is that they have a positive and a strong mindset. So part of what we need to work on then is making sure that that is how we are doing it. And this is a skill. It is a skill to train your mind to be positive. So how do we do that? How do we go about doing it? And so there are a few things that I want to have you think about and to write down. But before we do that, I want to talk to you about how powerful our mindset is. So your success should not be determined by just an amount of money. Now, we already talked about that. Success is your health, your relationships, and your money. So it's the 3 areas together. But there was a guy back in 2007 by the name of Adolf Merkel. Has anybody ever heard of Adolf Merkel? And I don't think I've ever in a class had somebody say yes, unless maybe they had already been in class with me before. So anybody on Zoom know who Adolf Merkel is? You don't have to put no if you don't, but Mariella said yes.
No, that was from earlier.
Oh, that was from earlier. Okay, I was gonna say, wow, all right. Okay, so
She Googled him.
she what?
She Googled
She
him.
Googled him, yeah. So Adolf Merkel. Adolf Merkel was he owned a pharmaceutical company in Germany. And this was his his grandfather had started this pharmaceutical company, then it went to his dad, and then it went to him. Well, in 2008, or at the end of 2007, the start of 2008, his net worth was 12.8, if I remember right, $12.8 billion. He was worth $12.8 billion. Well, we already talked about what happened in 2008 to the world economy.
Yeah, died.
It crashed. So as a result of that, his business took a little bit of a hit, but he also had this idea. Adolf Merkel had this idea of seeing what was going on with the world economy. And he went and decided that he was going to short Volkswagen stock. Now, in case you guys don't understand what that means, typically, when you're investing in the stock market, you go and buy shares of a stock. And when you buy those shares of the stock, what you hope happens is that the company will continue to do better and that the value of those shares will continue to go up, right? Mm-hmm. So that's typically called going long, is what you'd call it, is you're long on the stock, which just basically means you bought it. To go short on the stock, so kind of the long is the opposite of short. So if you go long by buying the stock, what would you think you would do to short the stock? That's right. So so here's the thing. Typically we buy stock because we think the value is going to go up and we'll make money. To short a stock, what you're saying is, I think the company's going to do worse. And so, and in fact, actually, we somewhat saw this happen with GameStop. Did you guys hear about what happened with GameStop recently?
Right.
So here's what happened is all of the big hedge funds started to see that GameStop was probably going to be the next blockbuster, meaning it's just going to be gone because all the gaming stuff's done online now.
Yeah.
So they started to short the stocks, which what that means basically is, think of it this way. Let's say that Miriam owns the stock, and let's just say she owns stock in this water bottle company here. What is it?
Arrowhead.
Arrowhead. She has stock in Arrowhead. Well, I think that they're gonna go down in value. So I go to Carmen and I say, Carmen, are you interested in buying some shares from Arrowhead? And she says, sure. So, it doesn't play out exactly this way, but this is the easiest way to explain it to you. So I essentially come and borrow Miriam's stock. So I kind of say, can I borrow your stock for a while?
Yes.
And she says yes. So now I come over and I go, here, you can have it. And I sell it. So I didn't buy it from Miriam, but I'm borrowing it from her, so to speak. And I sold it to you. So I really don't own it. I just borrowed it and now I sold it. Well, what I hope happens is that the stock price goes down. And as long as it goes down, then what would happen is I could come back over to Miriam and say, here's your, I'm just gonna pay you for that stock instead of giving it back to you. Does that make sense? But the way I'm gonna do that is I sold it to you for $100, let's say. Well, the stock price goes down. So now I say to Miriam, hey, I wanna buy your stock. And let's just say it's worth now $50. So I took in $100, but it's only worth 50. So I go to Miriam and say, hey, I want to buy, instead of borrowing it, I'm gonna buy it. Here you go, here's $50. Now I just made $50 by shorting it, is what that looks like. Now, that's a pretty elementary description of it to help you understand. But so Adolf Merkel decided he was gonna do that to Volkswagen stock. He was gonna short it. So he sold a whole bunch of shares. Now, what would happen though, let's go back to this scenario. What would happen? I think the value is gonna go down in stock, so I sell it to you for $100. Well, let's say though, that all of a sudden we're in a drought, which we kind of are this year, right? So now what should the price of water do?
Go up.
Go up. Okay, so now it's $150 for me to buy those shares that I sold for 100.
You've lost $50.
So now all of a sudden Miriam's like, hey, I need my stock back. And I'm like, I'm not ready to give it back to you yet. Well, it doesn't matter. Part of the deal is you gotta give it back to me when I want it. Okay, so now I gotta buy it to give it back to her. So I have to go pay $150 when I only took in 100. So can you see what happens if it goes the other direction?
Yeah.
Adolf Merkel goes and shorts Volkswagen stock, which would have been a good thing and they probably would have gone down in value, except for that Porsche stepped in to say, we're gonna help you guys out. And as soon as they did that and said, we'll fund some of it, all of a sudden the stock price turns around and goes the other direction. And it went the other direction pretty fast, which means now all of a sudden he's lost a whole bunch of money. So at the end of 2008, so remember he was worth $12.8 billion at the start of 2008. At the end of 2008, between this loss that he had to take on the Volkswagen stock and his company just not doing as well, his net worth went from $12.8 billion down to 9-point-something billion.
That's a big loss though. That's not like.
So he lost like $3 billion.
It's nothing.
Yeah, but I'm sure he was set up to take that loss and then he'll gain it back, because if you still have 9 billion.
Well, so that's the point. That's kind of where I'm going. Like, he still had $9
He still
billion.
had $9 billion.
He's good. But.
So he could probably withstand what's, you know.
In January of 2009, he stepped in front of the train.
Oh, wow, because of that?
Oh, because of that?
I mean, it's billions of dollars, but still you got like 9 billion to sit on.
So he
Well,
lost 4 billion.
So here's the point. What we're talking about is the mindset. What
Don't
was
lose the chair leg.
Yeah.
his mindset was tied to his net worth.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's bad.
That's a bad problem. So
Bad
that's what we're saying is, see, our mindset is a skill set. Is yes, we want to be successful. Yes, it's great to go out and do that, but you can't tie your self-worth to your net worth.
Yeah.
And that's what he had done. So what are the areas, what are the things that we need to do on this? So here's what I would say is I'm going to give you a list of things that if you want to have a strong mindset, things that we need to be doing, and which will now then also help you understand why within the company we do some of these things that we do. So let's start with, under mindset, what are you listening to?
Warning is set.
Good. So what are you listening to? So that's part of where I would ask you now. So you will notice actually that as a company at 7 a.m. every day, every working day, business day, you will receive a text message with a daily message. Well, the idea behind that comes from this. What George had recognized is that for him, that when he wakes up in the morning, that the first thing that usually goes through people's minds is a lot of times it's fear or negativity, it's those type of things. And so he said, well, what could we do to help people with their mindset, to have a stronger mindset? And that's where this idea came from, that we now then send out to you every day a message. And the idea of it is to helping you kind of get into a good spot so that mentally you're in a good spot. So what are you listening to? So the other one that I would say in terms of listening, when you jump in your car, what are you listening to? Are you listening to the radio? Are you just listening to, just music? Are you listening to, I forgot what's even called,
Motivational things.
like the talk radio.
Talk radio.
What's that called?
NPR.
NPR.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
can be depressing.
Yeah, that's right. Is it? Well, and
I
that's,
don't do that.
that's just it. Just keep in mind that,
Yeah.
that a lot of these things are designed early on when COVID hit. Like for me, like I was jumping on to like, I got to hear what's going on and how many people are dying and all that. Like the negativity is what sells for them, which is why how they get their money is people to watch. See, they love when there's some bad news that they can do. What's there was a song from the 80s about that, Dirty Laundry. Was it Dire Straits? I don't
I
know.
think so.
Miriam's like, I have no idea. Before my time, right?
Is it techno? No, I'm just kidding.
No,
No, I'm kidding.
but yeah, so just keep in mind that a lot of that stuff is negative, which creates fear inside of you. So don't turn. For me, early on, I was like, I got to turn off the news. I got to quit watching this because I'm
Yeah.
getting too caught up in all the stuff, and then it created just fear. Okay, so instead, what are you listening to? Zig Ziglar, I think it was, that said your car should be a mini university. That when you're driving around, you should have stuff that you're listening to that is going to educate you and help you to do better. So that's part of where I would say, for me, it used to be when this morning, I ran 3 miles.
Damn, good on you.
Oh, thank you.
Mhm.
It's been a long time since I've done that, but.
I can't even walk up the stairs normally.
Yeah, so actually, typically I do pretty good. Most mornings I'll at least run 2 miles. When I went to California 2 weeks ago, I didn't run once. I was like, I just meant like, I was in a bad mindset is I guess what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So part of that, because I didn't do that, is why I stepped it up. And I did actually 4 yesterday miles. Today I did 3 because I was just like,
Wow.
I'm in control. Now, in fact, there is a guy by the name of David Goggins. Anybody know who he is? Have you heard of him? He was a Navy SEAL. He's got a pretty, I can't even remember the name of the book now. Maybe somebody on Zoom will remember. He wrote a book that, shoot, I can't remember what it's called now. Anyway, because he's a Navy SEAL, he says the F word a lot. So if you listen to it, like be prepared. But I saw a little video clip in the last week from him where he was talking about discipline, which we're not there yet. But to me, I tie those together, the mindset. And ultimately what he was saying is, if you're checking what the weather is going to be tomorrow morning to decide if you're going to run outside or not, that's a problem. Let's see. Can't Hurt Me. Thank you, Alex. That's right. The name of his book's Can't Hurt Me. This guy's crazy. He runs ultra marathons, which 100-mile races, and just goes out and just
Wow.
like does them all the time. And in fact, in the last year during COVID, he did a run from the straight, like they don't stop. I mean, he'll stop to eat and stuff, but it's not like he stops and sleeps.
Just relaxes, yeah.
But from the bottom of Florida to the top of Florida, just him and some other guy just ran straight.
I could
Yeah.
never.
I mean, like I say, they will stop
I
to
could
get
walk, I
food.
could walk it.
Well, they do some walking, but it was straight.
I could
So
drive it.
yeah, like he's all about mindset and discipline. And in fact,
Yeah.
part of what he says is when you are ready to quit and give up, like if you were so Miriam, you said walking up the stairs or whatever.
Yeah.
If you were to go run, when you feel like you can't do anymore, if I remember right, he says you still have 40%, might be 60%, it's either 40 or 60, still left in the tank. When you feel like, when your mind is telling you you can't do anymore, your body could do, and I wish I could remember if it's 40 or 60, maybe we should just say 50, but you could do 40% more than you think you could do.
Yeah, I get that.
It's all mindset driven. Okay, so what are you listening to? Are you listening to things that are inspire you and help you or not? Okay, next is reading. What are you reading? Now, one of the things that we, prior to COVID, and actually we're going to start it again in 2 weeks, is one of the things that we have done as a company is we have once a month we've had a book club, and we're going to get that started back up again here in about 2 weeks, where what we're going to do is Morning Ascent on Wednesdays is book club. So the idea will be that as a company, we're all reading the same book at the same time, and Wednesdays gives us a chance to get together and talk about what are you learning, from what you read. So we will come out with, hey, here's the book for the month, and then we go through that for the month. Okay. So what are you reading? Are you reading things that are going to lift you or things that bring you down? Okay. Next, watching. What are you watching? So are you using TV as a way to improve yourself, or are you just mindlessly binge watching stuff? Now, there are times for that, obviously, to do that. But overall, like what are you doing in terms of what are you watching? Is it helping you grow or is it not? Okay. Next, in terms of mindset, is associate. Who are you associating with? Are they people who are going to lift you or drag you down? I've heard this said a number of times. The most recent person that I heard say was Darren Hardy. Darren Hardy was the editor of Success Magazine. And one of the things that Darren Hardy says is that you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with. So if you look at the 5 people that you hang out with the most, you will be the average of those 5 people. Well, so if you want to increase your income, what should you do?
Hang around top producers.
Yeah, go find some people who are making the kind of money you want to make and go hang out with them so that you can ask them questions. What do you do this, or how do you do that? How do you go about these things? So that's what we mean by associate. Now, the way Darren Hardy says it is you should evaluate every single relationship that you have and make the decision for that relationship. Are you spending the right amount of time with that person? Meaning, there may be some people that you say, I should spend less time with that person because when I'm with them, they drag me down. I don't leave them feeling motivated and inspired. I leave feeling depressed or whatever. If that's the case, reduce the amount. Now, like I say, you may not be able to fully get rid of it because maybe it's a sibling or a parent or something that yeah, you still should associate with them, but reduce the amount of that. So for a while, we would go to my in-laws for dinner every Sunday. And I would find that after being there for a few hours, I was like, I felt like they had drugged me down. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I finally said to my wife, we need to have a set time that like, what's the time that we are going to leave? And I didn't tell her why, but I was just like,
she probably felt the same way.
Maximum.
yeah, no, she enjoyed her sister. She was with her sisters. I was usually with their husbands, and a couple of them would kind of drag me down. So I was kind of like, I found that I left there not feeling motivated and inspired, but feeling like, oh, like,
Can't wait for next week.
yeah, exactly. Can't excited for next week. So, so for me, that's what I would say is to look at that and say, do you need to reduce it? You may have some relationships that you look at it and you say, no, I think it's just right. And you may have others, like I say, that you say, I need to spend more time with this person because when I'm with them, I feel elevated. They inspire me. They give me good ideas. But so look at that. And then the final one under this mindset is participate. And so this goes back to what Miriam said. So after we do a daily message every morning at 7 a.m. At 8 a.m. we've got Morning Ascent going. And the idea of that again is just to try to get you kick-started for the day to going and doing your prospecting and all those kinds of things. The reason that we do a summit once a month is around tied to that same type of a thing. We're gonna have base camp. So tomorrow in this room at 11 o'clock is gonna be base camp. I think we will broadcast that one. Not always is base camp gonna be broadcast to the whole company, but tomorrow's will be. So participate. Here's the other thing that I will tell you that I see happen is I will see agents come and they will show up and start to participate, and they'll come to classes, they'll go to summits, they'll go to morning ascents, and they'll get their business going. And then they start to feel like, oh, well, I've already heard it all now. George told that same story before. I've heard it before. Every time I go, I hear the same stories. I'm just not going to go anymore. And then what happened? So then they got their business up and running, and then they quit doing the stuff that got it there. And then they start to do this again. And then unfortunately, we see people that then leave the company, and then they leave the company after a while. They realize, wow, maybe I should go back because it was when I was doing morning ascent and going to those things. And then they come back and then they get their business going again. So don't be that person. Like, recognize, get involved, keep participating, show up. Even if you feel like, oh, I've heard that story before, show up and try to figure out how you could relate it to help you to grow. Okay. All right. So that's 3. Mindset is top producers have a great mindset, and it is because of these type of things. So as he looked at it and said, they have a great mindset. Okay, well, what do they do to get it? And he noticed that they were always listening to things. They weren't just, NPR or whatever. They were reading books. They were watching things that were going to inspire, and they associated with other people. They had created these networking groups or participated in them with people that they could learn and grow from. All right, next. So that's 3. We're halfway there. Number 4. Number 4 is discipline / accountability. I watch some people write on their iPads and it looks so good, and I'm like, wish I could do that.
I think that says accountability.
It does say accountability. Good job. See, I know. Here, I'll try to make it.
Okay.
Is that better? Actually, probably what I should do, I know there's a way I can write it and then it'll type it. That's probably what I should
You're
do.
fine.
All right. All right, discipline and accountability. What is the difference between discipline and accountability?
Discipline is kind of like your willpower that you have on yourself, because you're disciplining yourself. And accountability is kind of checking back at the end of the day and staying true to yourself, not like lying, like, yeah, I sort of did it, like you did or you didn't do it. So holding yourself accountable.
Good, love that. Yes. So here's how I like to think of it. Discipline is internal, accountability is external. So here's what he found. So the next piece of this is, first off, they have a clear vision of where they're going. They set goals. They have a strong mindset. And then the 4th thing was, he found that the top producing agents were either highly disciplined, or if they didn't have the internal discipline, they found external accountability. So I mentioned to you that we have a daily message every day that goes out. Well, I am in charge of making sure that happens every day. And sometimes it's hard to get a message out of the people who are doing them. And so part of what we will do is we'll set up some accountability or some discipline. So let me read to you this morning. So I sent a text this morning to our whole group of the people who you hear doing daily messages, and just said, hey, I'm in need of messages for this week. I don't have any, so I have nothing. So I do now, but when I sent that text, I was like, I have no messages for tomorrow. What are we going to do? So Jeremy Laguerre sent this text message back to the whole group. It says, if I don't have 3 messages to Russ by the end of business tomorrow, I owe each of you a $100 gift card to Ruth's Chris. And then he says, I define the end of business as 11:59 p.m. Now, so here's the thing. That's this accountability piece. See, in order to make sure that he would get me the messages for the next few weeks for me to use from him, he put some accountability out there. If I don't do it, I'm going to owe each one of you on this text string $100 to Ruth's Chris. So that's what that looks like, is discipline is, hey, I just said I would do it, I'm gonna get up and do it. So for me, early on, when I first started to run, so when I talk about that I ran this morning, when I first really got going with doing that as a daily thing, I didn't have the discipline to just go do it on my own. And so what I did is I found a friend in my neighborhood and I just said, let's meet every morning at 6 o'clock at a certain spot and we're gonna go run. And if I don't show up, like, you need to hold me accountable. And if you don't show up, like, I'm gonna be mad, because if I get out of bed and I'm there, I'm gonna be mad if you're not. And so we would meet each other and we would run. Well, over time, I finally got to where I had the discipline to do it on my own. See, today, for the most part, I say that, yet I already told you 2 weeks ago in California, I was like, I'm not doing it, I don't even care.
You're
But-
in Cali.
I know, that's what, that was what I justified it as, is I'm not, which I typically don't. When I'm down there, I'll still exercise. But at first part of last week, though, I was in St. George, because so on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I was down at our St. George office, and I did run on.
But how could you, it's so beautiful down there.
I know, right? How could you not, right? So, okay, but here's the thing, is either you have the discipline to do it, which what George found is top producing agents have the discipline to do it. And if they don't, they will get somebody to hold them accountable to do it. So here's what I would tell you. So let me share with you guys just real quick, and I may have shared this before, but early on when I got started in real estate and I got my license, I had gone to classes like what you guys are doing. And in the class, I had found another lady that was in the office that I worked in. She had just gotten her license the same time as me. And we got talking one day. And again, for me, I wasn't having the discipline to get myself prospecting on my own. So what I did is I found an accountability partner. I went and found Shirley and said to her, we should prospect together. Now, for us, that didn't mean like share the business. It just like, we should get together to do our prospecting. And so I wanted to go out and knock on doors. Shirley wanted to call on the phone. So what we agreed to do is that we would go in the morning and knock on doors, and in the afternoon, we would get on the phone. So she and I would spend somewhere in the 4 hour a day of prospecting, typically 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon, and we would meet up together. Well, for me, again, I needed that accountability, and Shirley was a great accountability partner. If I ever in the morning said, oh, I can't go door knocking today because I got this deal and it's blowing up and it's going to fall apart on me, the accountability partner's job, which Shirley was great at, was to say, hold on, it's going to be okay. It's all going to work out. And she would even go, and if it doesn't work out, won't you be glad that you went and knocked on doors and found another appointment to take the place of that deal if it does fall apart? And so she would always be like, nope, it's going to be fine. You can wait. Just come and go door knocking. Let's go. She would force me basically out the door to go door knocking, but I look back now and I'll tell you, I wouldn't have gone and done the business that I did without that accountability. So that's what I would ask for you. Take a look at it to say, do you have the discipline to go and do the prospecting all on your own? And if you do, great, then do it. But if you don't, then find somebody to be an accountability partner. Find somebody that you can say, look, neither of us really want to do this. Like for me, that was exercise. I don't want to go out and run. So I'm going to find somebody that I know if I don't get out of bed, they're going to be mad because they're standing at the corner waiting for me. Well, same thing with this. If I didn't show up for prospecting, Shirley was going to be calling me saying, where are you at? Why are you not here? You said you would be here. Get here. That's what you will need to do. If you have the discipline to go do it on your own, awesome, do it. But if not, get an accountability partner. Find somebody that you can together say, let's force each other to go and do this because we know that we need to do it. Make sense? All right, let me look at my notes here real quick, make sure I'm not. I feel like I wanted to say something else about discipline. Let's see. Oh, yep, there it is. Okay, in terms of the discipline and accountability, we're going to talk on Thursday about schedule. But here's the thing that I would say in terms of the discipline and accountability. Once you put together what your schedule is going to look like, if you will do it 80% of the time, so just think of the 80-20 rule, okay, which is the Pareto principle. if you will do whatever it is, exercise 80% of the time, like it's okay if you're gonna have, 2 out of 10 days that you don't exercise. If you'll do it 8 out of 10, it's gonna be okay. Same thing with prospecting, is if you will do it 80% of the time. Now, we talked earlier though about all of this stuff applies to your health and your relationships and things. So being faithful to your spouse 80% of the time doesn't work though, okay? That's the only area that probably,
Yeah.
that one you probably, so going back to the Tiger Woods, he was following the
Maybe you
80-20.
should've given 100. It would have been okay.
Yeah, he was following the 80-20. That one we probably,
110, okay?
That's
You
right.
can't even look at other lakes.
there you go, 110%. Yeah. So just kind of notice though, that in terms of our health, your prospecting, the 80-20% works. If you'll do it 8 out of 10 days, it's gonna be okay. Like honestly, if you would eat healthy 8 out of 10 days, you could have 2 days that you didn't, that you just do whatever you want to do and it's gonna be okay.
Have your pizza.
That's right. Same thing with, how did you know I love pizza?
I love pizza. So the first thing
Me
that pops
too.
into my head, my 20% will be pizza.
And my wife, what do you want to eat? Pizza. She's
Pizza.
like, I hate pizza. She hates pizza. I love it. All right. So yeah, 80%. So except for in your relationships, you got to be 100%. Okay. All right. Next. So number 5 that we're going to talk about is skill sets. Okay. So I'm going to give you 12 skills and we'll talk about each of these skills for a little bit. Some of them we'll do in more detail in other classes, but some of them we'll go through and talk about now. So skill sets, there are 12 skills. So again, let me just remind you what we're talking about here. George was looking at the top producing agents and saying, what is it they have or do? They all have a clear vision of where they're going. They set goals. They have a plan. They follow a schedule. They then have a strong mindset and they tend to be either very highly disciplined or they will get somebody to hold them accountable. And just know if you can do it 80% of the time, if you say this is my schedule for the next 10 days or 10 working days and you follow it 8 out of 10, you're going to be okay. Okay. So, and then the next one was skill set. So what he found is there are basically 12 skills that we need to master. And so what I want to do with this is we're going to go through the 12 skills. I'm going to talk to you briefly about all of them. Some of them will lay in other class, most of them, I should say, in other classes, we will hit on in more detail than we're going to today. But I at least want to cover the 12 skills so you're aware of them. And I want you to rate yourself on like a scale of, well, you decide the scale. Is it 1 to 10, 1 to 5, 1 to 3? I don't really care. That way, Joan, if you write down a 3, and Carmen looks at it, she doesn't go, oh, you're horrible. Because maybe you're like, maybe your scale is 1 to 3. That means you're really good.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
All right. So you decide the scale, okay? However you want to do it, or do A, B, C, D, whatever. Okay. But on each of these skills, and the reason I want you to do that is I want you to be able to look at it today and figure out where you need to improve. What do you need to spend more time on in terms of working on skill sets? Okay. All right. So the first one is setting appointments. Now, we're going to do a whole separate class on this, but in lead generation, where we're going to talk about it, I'm going to teach you how to do it. But setting appointments. So here's what I want you to do is just rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. How good are you at setting an appointment? When you get on the phone and you're I said scale of 1 to 10 or 1 to 5 or 1 to 3, however you want to do it. But how good are you at setting appointments? See, top producing agents are very good at being able to set an appointment when they're on the phone. And so I want you to look at that. And like I said, we're going to spend time in other classes talking about it and working on it. But how good are you at setting appointments? Okay, next. Now, we'll talk about in this setting appointments class that not always are you going to. As good as you might be, you are not going to set, oops, I didn't finish writing, lead follow-up. Okay, there you go.
Lead follow.
Yeah, lead follow-up is the next one. So as good as you might be at prospecting, as good as a top producing agent might be at setting appointments, you are not going to set an appointment with every single person you talk to. You're not. It's just not going to happen. And you're not always going to necessarily want to set an appointment with everybody, because you may have somebody who says, yes, we want to sell our house, but our son is going to be a senior in high school. And so next summer, as soon as he graduates, we're selling and we're moving to Hawaii, whatever it is. Okay. Well, that's going to be a scenario that you probably are not going to set an appointment with them. So instead, we're going to have to do some lead follow-up with those people. Or you decide you're going to prospect and call for sale by owners, and they just tell you, give us a week. We want to do it on our own. Just let us try it for a week. And if not, then we'll meet with you after the week's up. But give us a week first. Well, then you're going to have to do lead follow-up. Now, most agents are not good at this. Of all 12 of the skills we are going to go through, I would say I find most agents in terms of lead follow-up are not very good at that. So you need to have a process and figure out what do you need to do to get good at it. I know one agent in particular that I trained here at Everest. He's no longer with us, but he was so disciplined to go and prospect. He would get on and prospect and prospect and prospect, and he could get a ton of leads, but then he would never do a very good job of following up with them. Well, you're missing out on the majority of the business. In fact, I would say probably 75 or maybe even 80% of your business is going to come as a result of the lead follow-up. I think about one other top producing agent that I talked to here at the office, and this has been a couple of years ago now, but he talked about this for sale by owner he had just listed. And I said, how many times did you have to call them before you got an appointment? And if I remember right, it was 33 times. He did lead follow-up with them 32 times, I guess, before he got the appointment.
I feel like nurturing the relationship is very important. Like some people, if they don't get it right away, you're like, but if they say like, yeah, give me a week, like you keep calling them until they just don't answer, like.
That's right. Yeah, in fact, the way I like to say it is you're looking for one of two fingers, either the thumbs up or the
The
other.
middle one.
Or
Get
the,
lost.
that's right, or the other one, the bird, yeah. So, all right, so yeah, in terms of lead follow-up though, here's the thing to keep in mind. The purpose of our lead follow-up, the purpose of doing this is to set an appointment. When you call to do your lead follow-up, you're calling to set an appointment is what the goal is, okay? So just keep that in mind of that's where that's at. So do you have a system in place for your lead follow-up? And do you have it in your schedule? And to get this, you're now starting to see how all some of this stuff ties together. Is you need to have a system in place, and you got to have the discipline to go and do it. See, for me, I remember I struggled with this one. Early on, when I would get a lead, I'd write it on a sticky note, and then I'd put it on my desk, and then it would just sit there and sit there and sit there. See, have a system in place that here's how I work my lead follow-up. A lot of times what I will do is this. In fact, actually, let's do it. I haven't done this for a while. How many of you guys, including the ones on Zoom, so let me pull up the chat box. How many of you on Zoom, or you guys that are sitting in here, were recruited to the company by Lindsay Wardle? Kenzie, okay, well, I'll bet Kenzie will
I
work
was
too.
Lindsay.
Okay. How many times did she call you before you finally came?
Well, I was in Easy South because I did my homework.
Oh, okay.
So
she only had to call you once?
Yeah.
Okay,
she only had to
good.
Call me once.
Okay,
So-
what about Mackenzie with you?
She's amazing. She called me twice, and I was actually signed with Berkshire Hathaway, and she got me over here because it was just better vibe and everything. Plus, it's closer. But yeah, twice, and when I came in, I just signed over. So
Okay, good.
she's
What,
awesome. She's very informative.
any of you guys that are on Zoom? Phil Harvey was yours, Isaac? She called me several times while I was taking my classes. Yeah, about once a month during that time. Perfect, Tristan, thank you. Yeah, that's what I found. The reason I usually ask about her is because, yeah, and Crystal said several times. Alex said Kenzie. So how many times did Kenzie call you? I probably should start throwing Kenzie in the mix of that too, because she actually is very good at the lead follow-up as well. So Alex, how many times did she have to call you? Only once. You were an easy sell too, huh? All right, good. Well, so here's the thing. Let me tell you a quick story. I actually am going to be meeting with a neighbor / friend of mine today at 1:30. And he is an appraiser, but he also has his real estate license. And while he was in real estate school, In fact, when he decided to go to real estate school, he knew I did this training. And he had said, hey, when I get done, oh, Anna, Mike Stengel was your recruiter. Okay, good. He said, when I get done, I'm going to come and go through your training program. I said, great. Well, I didn't ever do any follow-up with him after that. I mean, I would occasionally see him and say, hey, how's school going? And he would tell me. But then he one day said to me, so this was before I was at Everest. And he said to me, you know, if it wasn't for my relationship with you, I would have been going to Century 21 Everest. And I said, really? Why is that? And he said, because of Lindsay. He's like, she called me every month. So similar to, I don't remember, Tristan, I think, said that she called once a month. That's with him. Once a month, she would call him, hey, how's school going? Are you ready to come in and talk? How's school going? You ready to come in and talk? See, that's where we're talking about here on lead follow-up. If you will do that type of lead follow-up and stick with it, it will work. Okay. All right. Next. So after that, I'm trying to somewhat do these in an order, but I may not get them exactly in an order. But next one is going to be pre-qualify or pre-qualifying. I guess you could write it down too. Pre-qualifying. So the next skill that top producing agents have that they're good at is pre-qualifying. What's the purpose of pre-qualifying?
To not waste your time, right? Because you want to make sure that they can actually get the house.
Okay, good. So part of it is about not wasting your time. Now, the other thing you said there, Miriam, is you want to make sure they can get the house. So when I say pre-qualifying here, I would include, like, can they afford the
I was
house?
gonna say, are you looking at a home that's too expensive that they can afford?
Okay, good. So that's included in this pre-qualify. But
Yeah.
for me, when I say the purpose of pre-qualifying, when I talk about top producing agents, it is about finding motivation. So it's, what's that?
Asking a lot of questions.
Asking a lot of questions, pre-qualifying questions, but it's about you figuring out their motivation. So that is a skill set of you being able to figure out, is their motivation. So yes, that it would include, do they have the ability? So I guess think about it that way, it's about their motivation and their ability. So it's the ability to do it, but it's also about, is their motivation to do it?
Yeah.
Okay. So top producing agents are good at pre-qualifying. They ask the question. Now, a lot of times we're afraid to ask the questions because we don't want to hear the answer because we're afraid then, well, let me put it to you this way. We don't prospect enough setting appointments. We aren't doing that consistently enough. So when we do get one, we don't want to ask the questions that would have us find out that maybe they're not really a real buyer or seller, because then what would that mean?
They're gonna not go ahead with the deal and list with you.
Therefore what?
You've wasted your time
And
and resources and energy.
which means that you have to do what?
Get back, you
You'll
know.
find a different person.
Find a
That's right. You got to go back and set some more
Or on your
appointments.
lead follow-up, you make a note.
That's right. I got to
Yeah.
go do more. I got to go set more appointments so that I can do more lead follow-up to
Yeah.
try to do some more pre-qualifying. Well,
Right.
forget that. I'd rather just go on appointments with people that aren't going to buy or sell, right?
Yeah.
No. Okay, so pre-qualifying, that's the next one. All right, next. Next one is presenting. Oops. The next skill is presenting. Now, you'll remember I said to you that your job really is to be a leader, that a leader's number one tool is communication. So we work a lot on that. And throughout the training classes, I'm going to work with you guys in the needs analysis of teaching you about presenting and how to go about and do it. But so rate yourself again. How good are you at presenting? When you get an opportunity to set an appointment with somebody and you get in front of them, whether it's a buyer or a seller, how good are you at presenting to them in such a way that they see your value and they want to then work with you? So that's the next one to rate yourself on. Okay. Which we'll, like I said, we'll do a bunch on that. Next, I probably should be numbered these. What number are we on?
5.
So we're on number 5 or
Mhm.
presenting was 5?
Right.
No,
Okay.
presenting was 1.
Okay. So next, so I'll try to write down that this way. Hopefully I don't forget you. Okay, next one I'm going to say is pricing. So meaning we're gonna go out on presentations. How good are you at pricing of the properties? Whether it's with a buyer or a seller, but typically more so this is applying more to a seller. How good are you at going out and looking at the home and being able to figure out what the price of that home should be? So rate yourself on that. Now, the way you're gonna get good at it is you gotta do it. You've got to go spend time. And my recommendation is you should be weekly doing market analysis, pick a property, any property, and run comps on it and see what you think of the price of it. And then keep an eye to see what it sells for. But that's something I think should be done weekly, is taking a look at pricing of property, okay? Number 6. We'll just do this one since it's right there, but price reductions. Now, in our current market, probably not so crucial. However, I feel like here's the next phase of what we're going to see in our market. And I think we're starting to see it already, is inventory has slightly gone up, not a lot. I mean, we're still way low, guys, like probably.
Like Lake Echo, did you see that? It's low. You can't even see the lake.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's right now
Lake
for
Powell,
homes.
have you seen Lake Powell?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. My friend got
Whoa.
stuck over there. She had like a drone, like.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so our inventories, we technically probably need 3 to 4 times the number of homes for sale as what there are
To
right now.
balance out the need.
Yeah, and maybe even more than that, but it might be 5 or 6 times what we have. It probably is closer to 5 times the properties is what we need in order for a good, healthy market. Well, so here's what we're seeing though, is because people have seen how much prices have elevated, sellers are going to start even outpacing what's going on, meaning they're going to assume, because in the last few months, people were getting 30, 40,
Oh,
50,000 above list price. Well, then they can now take that and go 30, 40, 50,000 above that, or even above that. So you're going to have people starting to do that, but we're also starting to see some inventory a little bit. I mean, like I said, it's still way low, but I'm seeing more properties on the market now than what we had a couple of months ago, and less properties under contract today than what we had a year ago is interesting as well. So to me, kind of what I'm saying is we need to start thinking ahead in terms of when you get an opportunity to list a home, you need to start preparing them for a price reduction. Because some of the sellers are going to think, well, we can list it here and it's even going to sell higher, when they're going to list it here and it probably is going to sell down here somewhere. That's the next phase of what we're going to see take place. So how good are you going to be at getting price reductions? Well, part of the process of that, of getting price reductions, is going to be tied to number 7, which is what we call future pacing. Okay. Future pacing is about you being able to let them know what to expect. Okay. Future pacing is telling your seller, here's what we're going to see. And if this happens, then this. If this doesn't happen, then that. So future pacing is, and I'll give you a couple of other ideas too. With a buyer, when they get a property under contract, they're now going to do a home inspection. If you don't future pace them properly, they're going to get the home inspection and they're going to think the house is going to fall apart and they should cancel the house because it's got so many problems. Well, part of what you need to do in terms of this future pacing is for you to say to the buyer, okay, we're going to get this home inspection done. Now, here's what you need to remember. That home inspector, part of their job is to cover their own butt. They've got the CYA. And so what they're going to do is they're going to point out every single little thing that they could find with the home. What we are looking for, though, is we want to approach this home inspection as it's your honey-do list. The home inspector is going to go create for you, here's the list of things that you are going to want to take care of on your home over time. So when you get it, don't be surprised. And with the seller, so let me pause for a minute in the buyer side. On the seller side, when I'm representing a seller and the buyer does their inspection, I always future pace my seller by telling them the most I've ever seen somebody come back and ask for, and this is true, was 72 items that they wanted the seller to fix 72 different things in their house. Now, if you tell your seller that, don't, and this is how I say it, don't be surprised if they come back and ask for you to fix 72 things. Well, now what is the seller going to be expecting when we get the home inspection?
72 things.
So what happens when they ask for 4 or 5?
They'll
They're
be
happy.
great, I'll do it.
Yeah, they feel like, oh, we got off easy, right?
Yeah.
See, so part of what we want to do, that's part of future pacing, is telling, here's what you want to expect. And here's the thing that I have found, is paint the picture to be a little bit worse than probably what it's going to be. That way, especially on that part of it, is that way, if they come back and ask for 10 items, hopefully they still look at it and go, well, at least we didn't get 72. And you go, I know, right? So that's future pacing, is telling them, here's what to expect. Now, let me finish the buyer thing. So with the buyer, how I future pace them is I want to tell them, look, you're going to get the home inspection. It's going to come back and it's going to have a whole bunch of things. Think of it as they're just bringing you up to speed. Meaning, if you were living in the house, you would probably know, like, let me see if I can find something as an example in here.
I don't know if that's a hole in there or what's
Is
going on.
that a
Oh, no, that's
speaker?
the speed, that's the
Oh.
microphone.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, but that would be an example. Let's say there was a little hole or something right there. Then what would happen is, well, I'll just, since I can't see anything in the room to use, I'll use in my own garage. So my home, when we first bought it, I had a Dodge Ram truck, and then we also had another SUV. And in order to fit both of them into our garage, they both had to have basically the bumper touching the sheetrock in the garage in order to close the garage door. Well, what would you guess happens after repeated of pulling up and having,
A little bit.
Put a little hole in it. or
yeah,
rough
just
it,
constant, little tapping of the,
Weakens it.
weakens it, and then all of a sudden there was a little hole, and then it became a little bigger hole, and then it became a little bigger, and then now it's about like the size of this in there, because my kids would go and play with it or whatever.
Oh,
but-
yeah.
You have a whole extra door now.
Yeah, that's right. So, but here's the point. I haven't had that truck or that SUV that we had to do that for many years, but there's still a hole there in the sheetrock. Just because I'm like, it's the garage.
Big deal.
I'll fix it at some point.
Yeah.
At some point, we'll go through and paint whatever, and then I'll fix it.
Yeah,
But I haven't done it.
it's down your list.
So, yeah, so it's on my list. So that's the point of what I say to a buyer is they're creating kind of this, hey, there's a loose wire or a loose whatever screw on this, you probably should tighten it. And that, that way I just tell the buyer that's what we're looking for. So when we go do this home inspection, what we're going to look for and what we're going to ask the seller to fix are things that should have already been fixed. Like they're a safety hazard because they haven't been fixed. And if you'll prep them that way, that's future pacing. So with a seller, so now let's tie that back to price reductions. How do I future pace to get a price reduction? What I want to tell my seller is, look, this is what we should expect. We should expect to be getting 1 to 3 showings a week on your home. Now, in today's market, we probably should say 1 to 3 a day, but we should be expecting 1 to 3 showings a week. In the event that we go 3 weeks is usually in a normal market, what I say. If we go 3 weeks and we have had no showings and no offers, that is the market's way of telling you need to reduce your price. See, if that's future pacing, telling them up front, here's what we're going to watch for. If we get some showings but no offers, then we're going to need to reduce the price this amount. So if we get no showings, no offers, we're going to reduce it this amount. If we get some showings but no offers, then we're going to reduce it this amount. If we're getting showings and we're getting offers, then we're good. We don't have to worry about it. That's how you're going to future pace them. That way, 3 weeks down the road, you can call them and say, hey, just wanted to follow up. Now you should be calling weekly, but 3 weeks down the road, hey, wanted to follow up, just talk to you. We've had some showings over the last few weeks, but no offers yet. Now, if you remember what we talked about in the beginning, if we had some showings, but no offers, we needed to probably reduce the price by X amount. So did you want to do that today, or do you want to give it 1 more week and then we'll reduce it? And then I just, if they go, well, let's give it 1 more week. Okay, great. Let's give it 1 more week. But then I'm going to send over a price reduction for you to sign that says, if we don't get an offer by next Friday, we're going to reduce the price to X.
Do you go a percentage or how do you value that?
Typically
Percentage.
percentage, yeah. So here's what I do, and we'll talk about this in another class, but no showings, no offers, we need to reduce it between 7 and 10%. Some showings, 1 to 3 a week, no offers, between 5 and 7%. So,
Okay.
all right. Next, number 8. Now, keep in mind, hopefully you're still rating yourself on these on a scale of 1 to 10 or 5 or 3, whatever. Negotiating. How good are you at negotiating? Here's what I will tell you. I've had my license 26 years, I think now. I don't know, 25, 26, something like that. Anyway. Over that time, I have seen that as agents, we have become worse negotiators. Like our idea of negotiating today is we write an offer and send it over. You don't even call. Agents write an offer and email it. And then it just shows up in your inbox and you get it and you're like, oh, okay. Like that's the idea of negotiating. That's not negotiating, by the way. So how good are you at negotiating? See, part of what you want to do to be a good negotiator is you need to call and talk to the other agent to find out what's important to the seller. See, in today's market, especially, writing offers can be very, very competitive. Most agents just write it and send it over. You need to call and ask questions. There is nothing wrong with calling and asking, how many offers do you have? There's nothing wrong with calling and asking, what's the highest offer you have? Now, should they tell you?
No.
It depends.
If the seller's okay with it.
If the seller's okay with it, which typically, Miriam, they haven't talked to them. And so the answer is no, they shouldn't tell you because they probably haven't talked to their seller about it. So yeah, usually the answer is no. But if the seller has not given permission, they shouldn't. But guess what? Agents will. If you call and say, hey, how many offers do you have? Now, here's the other thing. Ask some additional questions. So if you want to get some additional questions answered, ask additional questions. Meaning, what's the highest price offer you have? Well, I can't tell you that because my seller hasn't allowed me and it wouldn't be fair to everybody else. Okay, I understand. Well, if I offered $435, is that going to be high enough?
It might go, sure.
Yeah, that's right. They typically will at that
Yeah.
point go, it's in the ballpark. Okay, but is it in the ballpark or is it like almost out of the ballpark? Like, where are we at? Yeah, is it not high enough? Do I need to go higher? Like, just ask additional questions in terms of negotiating. Okay, now, great book to read if you have not read it is by Chris Voss, is the author. Never Split the Difference. It's a great one on negotiating. He was an FBI hostage negotiator. So he was negotiating for life and death. Great information about how to negotiate. So Never Split the Difference, Chris Voss. Okay. All right, number 9. All right, let's go next on number 9 to customer service. How good is your customer service? So what type of customer service are you giving? So I have 3 boys. My oldest son kind of just had a few different jobs, but after that, I said for my middle son and my youngest son, which my youngest is still, he'll be 13 this Saturday. But so he's not ready to start working yet. But my middle son, I said, you're going to go work at Chick-fil-A. Like your first job is going to be Chick-fil-A. And he was like, why? And I said, because you're going to go learn customer service. You're going to go, Chick-fil-A is going to be the best job for you to learn that. Which, by the way, you know, it's funny. I'm so glad you said that, Miriam. When I was in California 2 weeks ago, and we were talking about this, I made some comment about what do they say at Chick-fil-A when you say thank you? And they all stared at me. And I was like, do you guys not eat at Chick-fil-A or what?
Go to In-N-Out.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
But they're like, no, yeah, we go there. And I'm like, well, what do they say when you're there? I don't know. And I said, fine, we're all going to lunch to Chick-fil-A. So we then left. Not everybody went. A few of us went to Chick-fil-A.
Mhm.
And they had no idea. I'm like, what?
They
But
probably
yeah,
don't say thank you enough. That's
I think that must be what it is. Yeah, dang Californians. I'm just kidding. All right, so customer service. I know, I was like, who's on there?
Who's
I gotta-
from California?
Who's from California? Do we have any Cali people on there? Let's see. Let me see if I recognize any names from California. Nope, no California people, so I guess we can beat them up. I'm just kidding. All right, so I'm trying, there's another good book for that one too. I always have a hard time remembering it. Raving Fans, that's the name of the book.
Raving?
Raving Fans. That one's a great one to read in terms of customer service. If you want to improve your customer service, read the book Raving Fans.
I know,
thought it was a
I
good
have
teach.
I have, yeah. Rate yourself high in that one then.
Call center life, you know.
Customer's always right, so you
That's
gotta
true.
remember.
Gotta love that phrase. Then they're really right when they have to say that.
That's right. Okay, number 10 is working with buyers. Sometimes I'll even say it, working with highly qualified buyers, but working with buyers. For some reason, I'm struggling on one of them. We got 12, and I know what the next one is. I'm trying to find in my notes here. What am I missing? Oh, I know what it is. Okay. I skipped it earlier, is why I'm forgetting. Okay, so working with buyers. There is a process with this. Now, in the needs analysis class, I'll teach you how the process to figure that out is. But working with buyers is a skill, meaning what you don't want to do is be out showing 50, 60 houses to a buyer. And there's a skill set to that. And it starts with what I teach in the needs analysis class, which is about getting them to crystallize. If you can get them to crystallize, they're then empowered to buy. And so that is a skill of being able to work with buyers. And part of this is tied to the future pacing too with them. Okay. All right. Number 11 is, I gotta make sure that's right. Hang on. What am I missing? I can't. All right. We'll do number 11 then. I usually save this one for last, but I'm like blank on. Are you sure you guys numbered me right?
Yeah, I'm on.
Yeah,
All
I've
right.
been, yeah, I've got 11, yeah.
All right. I'm gonna have to look through and maybe
Unless
I
we're
think
all
you did
wrong.
like pricing and pricing reduction. I don't know. I know you said something.
no, those are two are separate.
Okay.
We've got setting appointments.
So yeah, the skill set is set appointments, lead follow-up, pre-qualify, pricing, presenting, handling objections.
Oh, handling objections.
Oh, that's what
Handling
that-
objections.
There we go, thank you. I even read it thinking I had already done it. Okay.
One of the
So,
most important ones.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Are we doing handling objections?
well, yes,
now?
we'll just write them both down right now. That's so funny. I looked at the list, I don't know how many times, and I'm like, nope, I already did that, I even looked at handling
Triple
objections.
check.
I know. That's why I started saying them, because I knew you guys would catch me.
Yeah.
All right, so number 11 is closing. You've got to be good at that. Now, here's what I will tell you. The natural ending to a presentation is the close. A good presentation should lead to them saying, well, what's the next step? Okay. But you got to be, how good are you at closing? Meaning asking for the business. Okay. So rate yourself on that. We'll spend time on that in another class too. So number 12, handling objections. How good are you at handling objections? Here's the thing that I'll tell you. The good news is there are only so many, meaning, and they haven't changed. In my 25 plus years of doing this, the objections that you get haven't really changed. They haven't. Like, I have a friend in the business, or we want to price it a little higher to begin with, or we want to sell it on our own. All of those things are the same. Like, nothing's changed. So what you need to do is identify those, write them down, and come up with how you're going to answer those. So how good are you at handling objections? Okay. All right. Which, by the way, as I mentioned, we're going to start book club up on Wednesdays. Fridays for Morning Ascent is going to be all handling objections. Every Friday is about handling objections. So you'll get trained on that coming
Okay.
soon, okay? All right, so that's the skill set. So now, number 6. So on our foundation, we're gonna wrap up with this one. It says number 6 is systems, strategies, and tools. Okay? So the next thing that he noticed, the 6th, was that they have systems, tools, and strategies that they use. Okay, so I'm going to give to you, we have on 21 Online, there's tons and tons of things on there, but I'm just going to give you a handful of those systems that I would say you should get familiar with. So we already talked about lead follow-up in the last one. You need some type of a system to use for lead follow-up. So on 21 Online, the one I recommend right now is Zap, is that you use the Zap system. But there also is one called Business Builder. If you want to use that one instead, that's fine. I don't really do training on that one, but Business Builder or Zap. So those are, that's the system I would recommend that you use for your lead follow-up is Zap. Okay, so as you get leads, put them into there. Now, I know some people and some of you that are on Zoom or even here are on Teams and you're using pro agent websites or whatever, that's fine. All that matters is that you have a system that you're using, but the one provided that's company provided is the Zap system, okay? Next on 21 Online, the other system that I think is helpful for you to be familiar with is going to be Toolkit CMA. That one is a where you can get the documents that you would use like to give to somebody like a pre-listing presentation
I've
kind of
looked
a
at
thing.
that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a good one. The next one on there is Golden Ruler. And we'll do a class that I'll go through a more detail than I am right now on it. I need to look and see. I actually don't, I may have forgotten to schedule that one. I need to get that back in the rotation. So this will be good. Okay. So Golden Ruler is the next one. Golden Ruler is a system that that tracks when you take a listing on a property, it's going to track the number of views that people are doing online for that property. Okay? So this is a report that you can give to your seller. Okay? The next one is the preferred client club. I'm just going to put it as PCC from me right now, but that stands for Preferred Client Club. That's a system through Century 21 that you can put people on, that what happens is then it's going to send to them every year a magazine 3 times a year, that it sends a magazine to the people. Think of it like a Better Homes and Gardens type of a magazine that has your contact information. You're on the cover, or I don't know if it's the cover, the back, but it's got your picture and contact information. So they know it came from you.
That's free?
No,
Oh, okay.
there's a cost to this one, yeah. These other ones are provided free from the company, but the Preferred Client Club, you can do it either for 2 years, 5 years, or 7 years, but it's very, very reasonably priced. Like if you look at what you get for it, it's 3 magazines, 2 like postcard mailings that it does on your behalf, and then a calendar every year from you.
So does that go off your SOI or?
Yep, you can add anybody you
add
want to.
Anybody you want to get that.
Yep. Yep, and I want to say per person for don't hold me to this exactly, but it's close. That for the 2 years, it's like $25 per person. For 5 years, I want to say it's 35 or something like that.
So obviously the
When you
longer
go on to,
commit,
yeah, the 7-year one's like 50. I might be a little low on that one, but somewhere in that range. But for 7 years to stay in touch with people, it's pretty reasonably priced and a good thing. So anyway, that one, and then the last one is unique property websites. So every time you list a property, Century 21 is going to create basically think of it as a page on our website for that listing. But it creates a URL, I mean, it's a long one, but that you could use that URL to market that property. So you could take that and do social media posts, flyers, whatever you wanted to do.
And that's free.
That one
when
is
you do
included
your
as well.
listing.
Yep, and it happens on every listing. Even most agents don't even know that there's a video. It creates a YouTube video taking the pictures and the information about, bedrooms, baths and stuff like that. And it creates a YouTube video where somebody's talking about this home features 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. And most agents don't even know that that's happening. But yet there's a YouTube video created and it's on under the Unique Property website. So.
I know like we get pictures for free, sorry, it's like off topic.
No, you're
But then
good.
Are you guys doing like aerial photos too? Is that something that we do or no?
Aerial photos is an additional charge if you wanted to do that.
Okay, 'cause it's like a thing now, everybody's on.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
All right, cool, thanks.
Yep, you're welcome. All right, so that's the foundation. So those are the 6 items that I would hope that you've rated yourself on. Is how good are you in terms, not rated, but to some extent rated. The skill set was what I was meaning rated. But do you understand your purpose, your vision, your why? Have you got the goals, which we'll talk about Thursday? Mindset, and then discipline and accountability, skill sets, and then finally systems, tools, and strategies. So hopefully that's helpful, good information for you, but that's what top producers have. Those 6 pieces they have dialed in. Pretty much everything we do as a company is going to fall into one of those 6 things. Any meetings that we're doing or everything should be dialed in around those 6 items in terms of the foundation, because that's what we have found is going to make you successful. So,
Awesome.
okay, well, thank you all for being here.
All right.
For you guys on
Thank
Zoom,
you.
if you did not put in your name and office number, please do that. But so Thursday will be business plan, and we're gonna get you started on creating your business plan. So
I'll be ready.
that's it. So be here, yeah. Okay, awesome, guys. Thanks.
All right. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Sarah.
See you later.
Have a happy Tuesday, y'all.
Yes.
Happy-
See you down there.
Yes.
Going down? Okay.
Yeah, I'm sitting right there next to you.
What do you guys do? Oh, you working here at the office?
Yes.
Yeah, I gotta run to my other office and work back, so.
Oh, dang.
What's your-
Offices on
Yes.
offices.
Yes.